Hello, thanks for joining the Susquehanna University Career Development Center for our job and internship workshop this evening. We will first introduce ourselves. My name is Tabitha Bemis. I am a career counselor at Susquehanna University.
My name is Elizabeth Ludwig, commonly referred to as Liz. I am a sophomore business major in luxury brand marketing and management, and also double major in strategic communications, advertising, and marketing. I am a career ambassador on campus. You can catch me at Quick Questions.
And our panelists tonight.
Yep.
I'm Zeta Bryan. I'm a senior anthropology major, and I'm also a career ambassador.
Hi, I'm Eric Rivas Contreras. I'm a senior computer science major, and yeah, I'm here to talk about my experience.
Awesome, thanks y'all. First thing we're going to talk about is how backwards our job search actually is, right? So what the image that you're seeing up here is a reverse triangle of how employers like to hunt for job seekers and then how job seekers like to search for employers, right? So at the top going down to the bottom is how an employer prefers to fill a vacancy. And when an employer comes in and they're like, oh, I need to fill this position, the first place that they're going to look is from within. They want to look for someone who already works there, someone that they have a connection to and they know how they work, right? Mm-hmm. Step two is using proof. So maybe they hire someone who they don't necessarily know, but they have good proof and evidence of the things that they can do and that they can do the job. Step three would be using a friend or a business colleague to hire someone who's work from a trusted friend, right? So perhaps they've seen this person, they have a trusted friend, and they're like, oh, this person would be a good fit for this position. And so from there, they would then have that networking connection connect to them. So, and step four would be using an agency that they trust. This might be a recruiter or a search firm that the employer is used to using and prefers to use. Then step five is using an ad that they placed online. And step six is using a resume, even if the resume was unsolicited, right? So 9 times out of 10, a student or someone who's seeking employment actually starts at the bottom of that, right? And so the search that we're going to talk about today and the keys to getting to that top position where the employer is starting are going to be the strategies that we talk about today.
So as far as with our panelists, I got a question to start us off. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your internship and research experience. Zeta, if you want to take it off.
Okay, so I had a research experience over the summer at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I was selected out of one of 21 students across the nation to participate in a graduate level experience. So it was a lot of like independent research, but it was also from a mentor that I was under.
Thank you.
I've had an internship at Gannett Fleming. It is an engineering and consulting company. The way that I was able to get an internship was because my boss at the time, he was actually my programming teacher back in high school. So he told me that if I ever needed a job or an internship, I could just go to him and ask him, since he knew how I worked in school. So again, like she mentions, like I was able to get that because he kind of knew me and he knew how it worked. So I had an internship there for the past 2 summers doing software development. And I've also had a job here on campus working for the IT office, developing the school's web forms and also the school site, which is my SU. So I've had a lot of experience there, you know, coding and programming and doing all of that cool stuff in the tech field. So.
Thank you guys. Looks like we're going to learn a lot from you both tonight.
So for the agenda, we're going to kind of categorize the job search into 3 separate areas. The first is going to be research and how that can influence your search and how it can also influence your professional documents. The last piece that we will talk about is networking and how that can get you to the top of that triangle. So first things first is research. When we start research, we kind of want to start with ourselves. We want to have this internal understanding of who we are and how we fit into the job market. And so I always like to look at this image. It's this Japanese concept of ikigai. It's a reason for being. And so this is kind of categorized into 4 separate like Venn diagrams. And it is what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. And so looking at this as a whole, if you can find something that meets all of those things, you will find the most satisfaction in your career, right? Or in what you're doing. And so starting with yourself and understanding what it is that you love and what you're good at can help you to determine where you fit into what the world needs and what you can be paid for. So starting with your personality, understanding your own personality and others, as well as interests and preferences. This could be geographic. Maybe you need to live somewhere specifically for your summer opportunity because you want to be at home, or maybe you're choosing somewhere else. Also looking at the work environment that you prefer. Do you want to be in front of a desk, or do you want to be standing behind a camera? Also looking at your job target. So this might align with your major or it might not, right? But understanding where it is that you want to work, what your target companies are, and what kinds of jobs that you want to do. Then assessing your skills and abilities. You're made up of hard skills as well as transferable skills, and those hard skills are technical, things that you can learn. But then transferable are going to be your personal or professional traits, whether that be interpersonal skills or communication, teamwork, leadership. These are things that can move from position to position. And then also assessing your values. So your personal, cultural, social, or work values, these will help guide you in the direction that you want to go as well, and finding a good fit for the company. So this is a list of the top qualities that employers seek. If someone from our audience would like to maybe call out one or two things that really stand out to them. Friendly and outgoing. Good. Why?
Get along with your coworkers if you're not going to be able to talk to them and be friendly with them.
Right, absolutely. So at the end of the day, you're working next to this person for 40 hours a week, right? We have 80 waking hours in a week, so half the time that you're awake, you're probably going to want to be enjoying the people that you're with. Absolutely. One more?
Leadership skills.
Leadership skills.
And I think that's a good quality to have because it's always good to just be able to take charge of a situation if something goes bad, and to have some people being able to follow you, I think is a good trait to have.
Absolutely. So leadership skills are really important in being able to lead a situation, right? But also being able to follow and knowing the roles of a team and the dynamics of a team, and having an understanding of when is an appropriate time to step up and when is an appropriate time to step down, right? So all of these are top qualities that employers seek. The number one is going to be communication skills. Employers are looking for communication skills over and over again, and so making sure that you are honing those communication skills, whether they're written or verbal, and you're gaining experience doing that is going to be really important. So in all of this, we want to develop a personal brand. And this brand will help you to market yourself to employers and understanding where you're coming from and what you can offer to an employer, and be able to talk about that in a resume, a cover letter, and the interviewing process. So I like to say the top 3 things that you want the employer to know about you as it relates to the audience or the job description, right? So this could be your education. If it's a linear, like your communications major and you want to be in broadcasting, that might be a strength of yours, right? Also identifying your experiences. If you've had an internship or practicums or some sort of student teaching experience, moving that into your top 3 things, right? And then understanding your strengths and skills. So these can be hard skills, these could be technical, or they could be transferable. Leadership, teamwork, communication, right? So I encourage all of you to develop a personal brand statement. And this is something that you can use in your cover letter, you can use it into your interview process, right? And it sounds something like this, right? I am an excellent fit for this role due to my blank, blank, and blank skills, right? So insert your top 3 things there. And as you develop that brand, employers will become more familiar with the keywords that you're throwing out to them, and it'll make you more memorable.
So turning this back to our panelists, what qualities or skills do you guys believe helped you stand out within your experiences? Seda, if you want to go first.
I usually talk about a lot of my research experience, whether that be classwork or publications, or also my research experience over the summer. So I talk a lot about my qualitative and quantitative skills a lot in my resumes, because that's also how, like, the job field that I'm searching into is in research industry. So.
For me, besides the internship that I had, the one way that stood out to other places was really brushing up on my LinkedIn profile. So really adding all of the experience that I did at this other internship, the things that I was tasked to do, the things that I accomplished. And one of the things that I really had to look into is using keywords, because a lot of the companies now don't really look at the resumes. They have a filter that does it for them. So they look for specific keywords like, designed, collaborated, creative, and keywords like that really make you stand out. So you want to make sure that you have those on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile. And speaking of LinkedIn, like, for sure, if there's any courses that you've taken in school that relate to your field, for example, I've taken one that was Java and computer organization and stuff like that. So I put those courses into my LinkedIn profile to make the profile be more attractive to recruiters and so on. So definitely use the Career Development Center here to help you brush up on the resume, and then took what you have listed on your resume and put it on your LinkedIn. And that's how I think I was able to stand out from a lot of other candidates. So, and don't lie on your resume or LinkedIn profile either, because when I had my interviews, I didn't lie, but they will ask questions about my LinkedIn profile or the resume as well. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for touching on that.
Yeah.
There's actually going to be some things we're going to talk about later that you mentioned, so
Good.
nice transition.
So,
All right, next we're going to talk about occupational research. So first and foremost, when you are looking for a position, you are going to want to do some research on it, do some research on your industry to make sure you're confident in what you believe you want. So some things to explore when you're doing this research. Why are you interested in this career? What are the working conditions, the qualifications, the salary, any related occupations, industry-specific keywords. So for a marketing position, perhaps it would be social media, marketing, communications, etc. 3 of the skills that you have that are related to this career, and also some questions to kind of like self-reflect. You want to think about what you want to get out of this. So what excites me the most about this? What concerns do I have about this line of work? Can I see myself working in this environment? Does this path capitalize on my strengths? Does this path align with my values? What skills do I need to develop, and what information am I still missing? So these are all questions that you're going to want to address moving forward in your research and trying to figure out what position works best for you. And Tabitha's going to talk about some great resources that you can use for this.
So the first resource that we always like to talk about is LinkedIn, right? So Eric touched on this a little bit, but LinkedIn is research, it is networking, it is professional documents all in one, right? So you can also search for job opportunities on there. And to do research, you're going to be able to connect with professionals for informational interviews using the Find Alumni tool. You can see where others with your major are now, see what their experiences are, the things that they were involved in when they were here at Susquehanna, and what their first position was, what their entry level, how they've progressed through their career. You can also use it to research companies using the individual company pages. You can see the people that work there, the jobs that they have, even the job opportunities that are available. You also can use it to participate in career-specific groups. So if you go on LinkedIn and you search marketing groups, you'll be able to find professional groups that are talking about the current trends, things that you should be thinking about and concerning yourself with and understanding before you go into a job search or an interview, because then you can talk about the things that the current professionals are talking about as well. So another resource is ONET. ONET is where you can find detailed descriptions for very specific job types in many different fields. So you can browse different occupations by their outlook, their field, the skills used, jobs specific to STEM or green economy sectors. You can be looking through the work activities, the environment, the skills required, gives you a whole lot of detail, as well as gives you access to the language of the profession, right? So it's important to use those keywords, as Eric said, and you can find a lot of those on ONET. The last resource that we'll talk about is Occupational Outlook Handbook. So this is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you can find basic career information on duties, education, training, pay, and outlook for hundreds of occupations on there. From there, you can explore and learn more about how to become the type of role that you are looking for.
All right, so next we're going to go into talking about the visible job market. So before I ask our panelists this question, I want at least one audience member to give me their opinion on how you would get started looking for an internship or a job.
I guess you start with a simple Google search of what you're interested in, or use like Indeed or something like that, or any job search market
Right.
tool. Just type what you're interested in, and everything comes up on the internet, and it's right there.
Well, you're doing my job for me. You might as well come up here and give a presentation. No, you've already touched on some things that I'm going to be talking about. And before I get into that, I'm going to turn that question on you guys. Zeta, how do you get started looking for an experience?
So I actually started for mine looking at my issue. There's like a tab on there that was like fellowships and internships. So I clicked on that, found like all these resources, and then found out kind of what I want to do for the summer. So then I searched it in Google, and then after that I found the perfect one and I applied. I also found though that Twitter was actually very, very helpful. I made a professional Twitter, and for the industry that I was going into, like it was very helpful to like build my networking connections off of that. So yeah.
For me, the one thing that I started to do first is I researched companies and researched into what they do specifically that interests me. For example, SpaceX, NASA, and all of those companies that do space exploration, as an example. I like those kind of things that they do. So next is, all right, I have a list of the companies that do the things that I like. Next, I go to the company's page and I search under careers tab to see, if they have any openings for entry-level software engineers or anything that interests me. Then once I find certain positions that they have open, I go through the description of the position and the things that I will be doing, so that way I make sure that, okay, if I'm gonna apply to this position, one, do I have the qualifications? And two, does the position actually interest me and not it's just the title? So once I find positions that interest me and that I qualify for, even if I don't fully meet all the qualifications, I then apply. And the other thing too that I've done is I created a Glassdoor account. So in Glassdoor, they actually will send you notifications that will tell you, hey, like there's job openings here and here and here and there. LinkedIn also does the same thing too, where you can put what things interest you and what positions interest you. So that way when something happens, they send you a notification and let you know that there's a job opening at a specific place. So I start from the company and I narrow it down to the position.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So next, I'm going to be discussing some location, kind of narrowing down your search. So it's really important for you to be able to figure out what you want out of your internship. And in that, narrowing down your search to make it as easy as possible to find a position that you want. So first and foremost, alumni-connected employers. Our Susquehanna network is incredible. I don't think either of us can say that enough. Go on LinkedIn, try to connect with some of our alumni, come to events like Breakthrough, our Career Expo in the fall, connect with our alumni, and they are always more than happy to help students here find positions or even just learn more about positions that are open and about their line of work. Searching by your interests. I, for one, am a really huge Disney fan. Tabitha can attest to that. And I know when I search for internships, I try to search within the hospitality industry, theme park industry, et cetera. And if you have a specific interest that you want, you need to search that way too. Searching by your major, marketing, creative writing, publishing, and editing. Regardless of what major you are, you can always find positions based on the major that you have. Searching by your geographical preference. Some of us don't really want to move far from home, or maybe you do really want to move far from home, like I want to go to Florida. So I would be searching for Florida positions. If you want to search near home, that's always an option too. And searching by company and industry preference, as I previously mentioned, kind of narrowing down what industry you want to be in is always going to be super helpful. MySU is an amazing resource for job researching. If you go on our career page under academic support, you can find some great resources for that. And next, here are some web resources that you can use. Google, one of our audience members already eloquently mentioned this website. It's a great resource. You can literally just search internship for marketing and you can find hundreds of thousands of results. These other job websites are great too. Glassdoor was mentioned, LinkedIn was mentioned, but some of these other ones are also great. I actually have a question for our panelists. So what web resources did you guys find the most helpful in your search?
Well, I would definitely say first one was Google, because well, I applied to them, so I was able to like just do it right then and then. And I guess I haven't really used much others besides LinkedIn and Glassdoor, but I have gotten contacted by recruiters from LinkedIn, so I think LinkedIn is probably winning over Glassdoor. So my first one, Google, next LinkedIn, and third one, Glassdoor, will be my top 3 resources that I use for finding a job. So.
Thank you.
And then I would say definitely Google, number one as well, and then Indeed, and then Twitter. I found Indeed to be very helpful, just even in my job search now. You know, you can do like quick apply and all things like that. So yeah.
I think
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's also really important to know that sometimes like the language can be different. So whenever you are searching, for example, here I'm a career counselor, but at another institution I might be a career advisor or a career coach, right? The commonality is career, but that actually could be, the words could be completely different for other types of positions. And so knowing that for sciences and humanities, sometimes summer internships actually take the name of summer research opportunities or REOs, right? And so those are things that you can be looking for in terms of the sciences, and then adding the word intern on the end of things can be really helpful for any other type of opportunity or field of study.
And to add on to that, one last bit, don't underestimate the power of searching on the company's website itself. We're mentioning all of these great websites, but if you do have a company you want to work for, it's always really awesome to just look on their website and look under their job portal, and it might even be more beneficial for you to actually apply on their website rather than somewhere like Glassdoor, LinkedIn, etc.
So now we're going to transition into professional documents. And here is where we will talk about all of the things that you will need to apply to an opportunity, right? So these can be a resume or a CV. For those of you that aren't quite sure what the difference is between a resume and a CV, they're very similar. A CV, they will have a very similar outline, format, style, but a CV is usually a little longer and has more academics based in it, right? So some coursework, you might see some research experiences listed, your senior thesis would absolutely be on there. That could also be on a resume, but you definitely want to have that academic side of your experiences on your CV, right? Cover letter. So what is a cover letter? It's an introduction to your resume. So the goal of this is to give something, tell a story that's a little bit different than what's on your resume, but also supports what is already on there as well. So then you will have to have references typically, and these will be 2 to 3, maybe upwards of 5 professional references, people who can speak positively on your behalf. You'll want to communicate with your references, try not to just throw them down and not give them any heads up that they might be getting a phone call, because the employers will contact them, right? You'll also want to update your LinkedIn for your professional documents. A lot of times this can just be pulled directly from your resume. And then you might have a portfolio or writing samples that you need to have available and ready to give to an employer, or have some sort of sample of your work that you can share, right? Last but not least, almost every application nowadays is an online application where you will have to fill out everything that's on your resume also on the online application, right? So when you do this, it can be a little time consuming and tedious, but that information is used to filter within the employer's network themselves.
And turning it to our panelists for a quick question about ProDocs. What is one piece of advice you would give to a student who's hoping to get an internship or research experience regarding their professional documents, like resume, cover letter, etc.? Zeta?
I would say make sure you do your research on whatever company or internship or experience you're applying to. Make sure you're tackling every single qualification or anything else they require in your cover letter or your CV. Make sure you're literally like putting the heading of like research experience, additional experience, administrative experience. You want to make sure you target every single requirement that they're putting on their job description.
Yeah, something to go along what Seda said as well is if you're applying for a job and say you have other things on your resume that don't quite go along with that job, make sure that you put the things that you have done that align more for that job first and kind of make them stand out more than the others that don't really matter to that position. Also, just really make sure that your resume is not that long. Like I said, people don't really read them, and if they do, they're not going to want to read 2 or 3 pages of them. You almost always want to have it just like a page long or so with the most important things that you've done that again relate to that specific position. And definitely also, you know, if you're going to write a cover letter as well, make sure that you research the company, what their mission statement is, what they do. So that way when you talk as to why you want to work for them, you can tell them, well, because your mission statement says this, and that's something that, for example, it's a goal of mine in life, or, you know, along those lines. So yeah, that's one of the things that has helped the most.
Absolutely. And, you know, I always say that it is more important to recognize that your audience and the reader is more important than, as much as your resume is everything that you're proud of, it is more about what the reader wants to see and what the audience is looking for. And you can find that in the job description, just like Eric said.
Okay, so first of all, for those of you in the audience and those of you watching at home, getting a job or an internship, and remember, if you don't remember one thing from this presentation, remember this, is not that hard. You can take 6 steps and you can get it. There's only 6 steps to success, okay? First, reflect. Reflect on what you want out of your internship or your job, or what you want out of your life. What kind of job do you want? What kind of internship do you want? Where do you want to go moving forward? Explore. Explore all of the options available to you. Don't limit yourself just because you feel like your major limits you to something. It doesn't. Target. Target kind of what I mentioned earlier with the visible job market. Target by your geographical preference, your job preference, company preference, etc. Engage. Start networking with people. Come to Breakthrough. Come to the Career Expo. Conduct informational interviews. Connect with people on LinkedIn that are in your industry, in your company, and don't be shy to do that. Just send them messages. Almost everybody on LinkedIn is really friendly. Prepare. Come to the CDC and come for quick questions. We will help you. Make appointments. That is literally probably the one piece of advice that you need to do more than anything, is prepare. Get your resume looked at. Get your cover letter looked at. Get your CV looked at. Get your LinkedIn looked at. Prepare mock interviews, etc. And finally, perform. So go out there, apply for the job, conduct the interview, ace the interview, get the job. I told you it's that easy. I only needed 1 slide to do it.
So moving into networking, we're going to talk about accessing what we call the invisible job network, right, or the job market. So we talked about the visible job market, which are the things that are posted online, the things that you will see in job ads, on Google, wherever. But the invisible job market is getting access to the top of that triangle, right, where employers are starting. And employers start at the top. They want people to be referred to them, or they want to start with the people that they already know, right? So the way that you start is by asking yourself who's in your circle, right? So Eric had talked earlier about how he was looped into an internship because he had a high school mentor who helped him with this opportunity or get his internship, right? So he started with friends and family. And so I would challenge you to think about, you know, you are at the center of your circle, but who's in the next side of that circle? Who are your friends and family? And then who are your neighbors, classmates, professors? Who are your community groups? SU alumni, right? Previous coworkers, supervisors, student clubs. And then moving to employers of interest, professional associations, volunteer organizations. So starting with yourself, letting everyone you know that you're looking for an opportunity so that they can then connect you to an opportunity that you might not know about, right? So starting with your own network and then expanding it.
And as far as expanding your network, going off of what Tabitha said, of course, there's multiple different ways to expand your network. You can attend lectures and conferences in your field. You can get involved with different professional organizations. You can conduct informational interviews, which is probably the most important thing you can do on this slide. I'll get to that in a couple seconds. You can shadow people. You can go to job fairs, AKA the Career Expo. I'm just plugging that one more time. You can go to the Career Development Center. Of course, you can get help from us. Mailing lists, attend career networking events like Breakthrough, internships and volunteering, and more job shadowing. So about informational interviews, first and foremost, I think the hardest thing that I know I've experienced and some of my peers have experienced with informational interviews is just getting the courage to actually ask the person we want to ask if they are free for an informational interview. And I can promise if you do ask that, send an email, phone call, send a LinkedIn message, I know that's how I did it, they will more than likely be willing to talk to you about their line of work, and you will have a lifetime connection. So that is such an important thing as far as expanding your own network, and make sure that you are doing those things when you are looking for an internship. So as far as for our panelists today, what have you guys done to expand your network?
So my network usually consists of really a lot of professors, a lot of peers within my major, and then also within LinkedIn. You know, I've gotten to meet people like on the web that I wouldn't have been able to meet, and also on Twitter. So a lot of my network comes from that. It's landed me, you know, job shadows with the CDC, especially as well. Job shadows at like Ellis Island with alumni here, and then also publications that I've got under my belt now just from networking.
Yeah, for me, some of the networking that I guess I've reached out to definitely have been friends and family to start off with, like I mentioned. Professors here that have worked at companies or places that I'm interested in. Then also going to LinkedIn and other social media outlets as well to reach out to those people. For example, I reached out to alumni on LinkedIn that work at certain companies that I'm interested in. And because, again, we went to the same school, some of them have accepted my request. One of them hasn't, so you know, that's not cool, man. Anyway, yeah, so I talked to one of the alumni. He graduated when I was a freshman. And it was really cool because he works at Google now, and he was actually able to give me a lot of advice on how to clean up my resume and my experience so that way I can get looked at even more. So, you know, just don't be afraid to reach out to people on social media and in person. So,
yeah. I always like to flip it on students specifically, because I think we do hesitate to reach out to people, and I like to ask the question of, okay, 5-6 years from now, you're graduated from Susquehanna, you're working in this career that you think is awesome, and a student from Susquehanna reaches out to you and says, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm really interested in the work that you're doing, would you be willing to talk to me for 15-20 minutes so that I can ask you a couple questions about what you do? Would you say yes? 9 times out of 10, it's an absolute resounding yes, right? So keep that in mind, that these are individuals who were in your shoes just a few years ago. And so when you are connecting and using your network, it is perfectly normal and exciting to talk to individuals who are doing the work that you or want to do. You just aren't quite there yet. So the next step is, what is the timeline, right? So considering when I am thinking about when do I start searching, what do I do, most of the time the answer is not really an answer, right? So it depends on when the positions are posted, right? And so for finance and accounting, for example, the hiring cycle usually starts in the fall. So you're looking more in August, September, October. These are the months that you're going to see a lot of finance and accounting opportunities open up. Now, when it comes to the arts and sciences, communications, English, creative writing, computer science, those opportunities open up whenever, right? It's as soon as a vacancy has left or has been opened, and so from there, you're just kind of a lot of the time it's going to be towards the end of the semester, right? And so many people, keeping in mind that this is the case, you should constantly be looking. Internship-wise, you're probably thinking will open up around January, February, March-ish, and so at that point you want to start gearing up your search. Now, most people will slow down after their first round of applications. The first application is going to take the longest. After that, it becomes a little bit easier because you have a baseline to go off of. You'll want to increase your chances by casting a wide net, right? So this means applying for a variety of opportunities, specifically ones that maybe are a safety or things that you definitely are qualified for, things that you are just right for, right? And just pretty much qualified for, and then a few reaches. And these are opportunities that maybe you don't have all the qualifications, but you feel like you have 90% of them, right? So you want to increase your chances by doing that.
And as far as our panelists go, when do you guys believe students, if they're looking for an internship or a research experience, when do you guys believe they should start looking and preparing?
Research experiences, I can only speak for like the social sciences, but for research experience, they usually happen, like Tabitha said, like January, March, but they tend to close more so around March, February, late February. So I would start gearing up literally in August, September to actually land one.
For engineering and technical positions, internships or research, I would say that definitely start the latest your summer of junior year before your senior year, but definitely start summer after sophomore year. So that way you have, I will say personally, I will say if you're gonna go for an internship or research, use sophomore year use freshman year to brush up on coding interview problems. Those are the things that kind of make you or break you when you go for an interview at, tech companies. So use freshman year to start, learning how to do this problem and learning how to tackle those problems, so that way when you do go your sophomore year in the summer to apply for an internship, you can actually, crack the interview pretty easily. But yeah, latest summer before senior year. You definitely want to have an internship before you graduate, because if not, you're going to be struggling a lot when you graduate. So
To go off of that, yeah, definitely also for the social sciences, more so sophomore year, junior year, because that's when a lot of research fellowships are like in. So yeah, I would say sophomore, junior year-ish, and then senior year, you want to get more so like scholarships and stuff like that, so yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. So going on from the timeline, one of the other things that is really important with the job search is staying focused and monitoring your progress, right? So when you're applying to 15, 20, sometimes I think in my case it was like 57 opportunities, right? When you're applying to that many opportunities, it's hard to keep track of everything and when you submit and what time you submitted and when you should send a follow-up thank you, or whether you heard back from an opportunity, whether it be positive hear back or negative hear back. So one of the important things that I say is find a system for tracking, right? So whether that be an Excel spreadsheet, it could be a notebook that you like to take notes in if you're a pen and paper type person. I actually really like this app called Trello that a professor introduced to me here at Susquehanna, John Foltz, if he's listening. But he introduced Trello, and it is absolutely a really great way to track this. It's like a to-do list, and you can move things from card to card and track your internship and job opportunities in a really nice way. It syncs automatically. You've got the cell phone app. You can do it online on your computer. So that's my personal favorite for doing that. You're going to want to adapt your plan as needed, right? So there was a quote on one of the first pages. It was, planning is everything, but the plan is nothing. So when you get into the job search, it's going to be chaotic. Things are going to come up. You might have to go one direction and then find out that it's not working, so you have to go another direction, right? And just being flexible and adaptable and knowing that it eventually will work out the way it's supposed to work out. But being persistent is really, really important, right? So adapt the plan if need be, but just keep going and moving forward. You'll want to schedule time in your day for job search activities or internship search. A lot of people will say it should be treated like a full-time job, sorry. So every day you should be sitting down, working on applications, networking, trying to connect with people, set weekly quantifiable goals. So I want to apply for 2 to 3 opportunities per week, and I want to connect with 10 people on LinkedIn per week, right? So setting those goals will help you in the long run. And following up is so important. I will tell a little story about how I got my job here. Most of it, 90%, I mean, I did a lot of the work, and I had all of the, I had done the internship experience, and I had the qualifications for the position, but I had followed up to a career development individual at my graduate institution when he came in to do mock interviews. And so I followed up with him, created a connection, and it turns out that he had worked with my director here at Susquehanna. And so I didn't have him listed as a reference, but she had come in and said, or she had called him and said, I see that you're a mutual connection on LinkedIn. Can you tell me a little bit about her, right? And so because he knew me and he had this connection with me, he was able to speak positively. But it all started because I said, thank you for coming in to do mock interviews, and I'd love to continue this relationship, right? So following up is very, very, very important. Going off of the adapting your plan, you're going to want to design a plan A, B, and C, right? We've got to cast a wide net. So remembering that plan A might not work out, so what is my plan B? What is my plan C? And going in with that mentality can help ease the negativity of a rejection, right? So at the bottom here, I kind of have traits to survive the search. So resilience, enthusiasm, and trust, right? So remembering that hearing no is going to be inevitable. You're likely to hear it. No matter what, right? So being resilient and knowing that you have to pick yourself back up and move forward is really hard, but it's important to keep persisting, right? So enthusiasm, being excited about what you're doing will make it so much easier to talk about the things, the internship experiences that you've had, and it's gonna make it so much easier to talk to employers when you are interviewing, right? As well as trust, and trusting that the right door will open when it opens, right? So if you hear no, you have to remember that maybe it just wasn't the right fit, and the right fit will come soon.
And to our panelists, what advice would you guys give to students who may be struggling to get an internship, whether it be they face some rejection or maybe they're struggling to find the right fit for them? What advice would you give?
I would say just keep going. Like Tabitha was saying, get used to rejection, one, because it's inevitable, it's going to happen, but also get back on your feet, figure out another plan, and then keep going, keep being resilient.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to say that, following from what she just mentioned, take rejection and take failure as a learning experience. Personally, I failed my job interview with Google, so that was my first time interviewing with somebody. But because of that, I was actually able to learn a lot as to what I needed to improve on. So whenever you feel something, ask if they can give you any feedback into all right, what did I do wrong? And if they don't, it's okay. You can always analyze yourself and think, all right, what might have said that, caused this or whatever. So in my experience, I was able to learn that, okay, when explaining a past experience, a past internship or project, definitely be clear, have a set guideline as to what did I had to do at the internship, what the problem was, how did I solve it, and what did I do, and how did that impact the overall company's progress or quality of the product. So failing my job interview with Google was actually kind of a blessing, because then I got a job interview with Microsoft, and because I noticed the things that I did wrong with Google, I was able to pass my phone screening interview with Microsoft. So I was like, all right, cool. I passed it, I got to the final round of interviews, and I just had it last week. I didn't get it, so I got rejected, but that's okay, because now I know again the things that I need to work on, the things that I need to improve on personally to be able to go back into the search, and next time I get an opportunity to interview, I can tackle those things you know, without being nervous or being scared or, you know, without any problem. So definitely take failure and rejection as a learning experience. Those sometimes be your best friends. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Awesome.
One little career saying that I've heard before, and I think it's funny, and you've probably heard a variant of the saying is before, is when one door closes, a glass door opens. So just with the job search, take failure, as he just mentioned, as a learning opportunity, and don't look at it as you don't deserve what you want or you don't deserve to work at the company you want to work at. You're going to get there. There's a reason that it happened, so just keep trying.
We had talked about staying focused and monitoring progress, but also casting a wide net, right? So going back to the quality versus quantity slide, right? So we want to cast a wide net, but we also know that it's not feasible to apply to 100 applications a week, right? We're students, you've got things going on, you have full-time, part-time jobs, and so we have to be reasonable, and it's going to be important to put your energies into quality versus quantity. So you want to apply to legitimate positions. So make sure that the company is legitimate and do your research and your sleuthing online to make sure that they are doing the things that they say they're doing, right? But then you only want to apply to things that you're qualified for, and you want to make every application count by customizing your cover letter and your resume to get you through based on things that you learned in your company research, things that you know about the industry, and proofreading everything as well, right? So then you want to tailor your resume using the right keywords. You use those keywords from the job description. You can pull those keywords and phrases, and make sure that it's something you want to do and that you're qualified to do, right? There's a website called jobscan.co, right? Co, it does not have the M on the bottom, at the end of it, right? But what you can do is you can copy and paste the job description for the job that you're applying to, and then you can also copy and paste your resume and cover letter into it and scan it for free. So this will put it through the filter that Eric had talked about earlier. That we call them applicant tracking systems. And so it'll put this through the filter and see the match rate that you have for your resume and cover letter, right? So one easy way before you get to that point, you'll want to take a look at the job description, which is on the right here, and then the resume on the left. And you'll see that there are keywords and phrases in the job description that are then integrated into the resume, right? So then when you put that through jobscan.co, it'll tell you what the match rate is, if you have the keywords in there, if perhaps you have a couple of skills that you need to add, things that are important to the job search itself and the performance. It'll inform you of what you need to add to your resume and cover letter to help it get through that first computer filter. Well, on that note, thank you all. Have a great one.
Thank you.